Indian state is run by a class of people who see Hindus as deficient human beings. Remember this. Hindus are seen in the system as deficient human beings. That is the reason why being pro-Hindu is very tough. Being pro-Hindu is almost impossible. In this, what is the way out? There is one way out. We have to understand first what is happening. If we understand what is happening, we can understand how our enemies see us. Leave the enemies. The most important thing is if we can see how a section of our own people who have more power see us, then we will be able to effect the change. Of course, the time is running out. We don't have much of a time. The best we may be having 5 decades. Before that, we have to set things right. So we have to do this in a war footing. We have to do this forgetting all our differences. We have to do this forgetting the differences of one being a traditionalist and another being a reformist. We don't have the luxury of standing divided. If we stand divided, then we will all be finished together. Remember that. So the point is, we have to understand that section. Forget the Islamists, forget the evangelists, forget the other people. Our own people, a section of our own people who are very powerful, those people, they have a negative mindset about Hindus, and we have to correct that. What do we do? How do we approach these people? What do these people, who these people actually are? What do they think about us? Well, here I am reinventing the proverbial wheel. It has already been stated very clearly by a great Hindu thinker. In 1981, it was a book priced ₹2. It was published by Sitaram Goyal. The title of the book is Hindu Society Under Siege. Here, he had given an algorithm of how the mind of these people work. If we understand that, then we will be able to know why a Rajdeep Sardesai talks the way a Rajdeep Sardesai does. Why a Parga Dutt talks the way a Parga Dutt does. Why a very religious Hindu in his private life is going and siding himself with a totally anti-Hindu Congress party. We'll be able to understand that. So let us take that book. And let me read the relevant portions of that book. So here he says, the section of Hindus who will refuse to believe the Hinduism is having any problem, the Hindus are in danger, or the people called the Macaulays. Macaulays are people who get totally indoctrinated with the Western concepts. So first we will identify what is the mental problem these people have. He says they have a skeptical, if not negative, attitude towards Hindu spirituality, cultural creations, and social institutions with the solemn air of scholarship and superior knowledge. That is one. Just bring to your mind Devadatta Patnaik. And as I read these things, you will understand. A positive, if not worshipful, attitude towards everything in the Western society and culture, past as well as present, in the name of progress, reason, and science. An intellectual inclination to compare Hindu ideals and institutions from the past, not with their contemporaries, ideals and institutions in the West, but with what the West has achieved in its recent history. Remember this. This is a very important thing for every Hindu intellectual. Whenever an anti-Hindu or a Macaulayist Hindu, when he talks to you about how great the Western society is, how great the Western social institutions are, whereas look at the Hindu institutions, it is caste-filled and there is untouchability, blah, blah, blah. Tell that person to compare the institutions of the West with the contemporary institutions of the East. If you are talking about, let us say, 10th century India, let us compare the social institutions of the West of the 10th century and then see what is the distinguishing things. And then we will understand why we are right now in this stage and why the West has actually, it seems to have surpassed us. We will be able to understand that. So this is another one important aspect. Then a psychological propensity to scrutinize, interpret, and evaluate Hindu culture, history, society, and spirituality with the help of concepts and tools of analysis evolved by Western scholarship. So either it is Marx or it is Freud. They won't even go to Carl Gustav Jung because Jung is a bit positive towards Hindu spirituality. So these people have this propensity to always evaluate Hindu spirituality and Hindu culture through the frameworks supplied to them by the Western scholarship, however deficient it may be. Then he says how a Macaulay's Hindu would argue with you when you point out to him the dangers that are there in the Hindu society is actually facing. To start with, he refuses to recognize any danger to Hindu society and culture, even when irrefutable facts stare him in the face. So that is what he does first. He would tell you that you are all alarmist, no danger at all. We are the majority people in this country, so there is no problem. Be quiet. You are just creating havoc, panic among the people. You are whipping up fear psychosis among the majoritarian people. And so don't do that. That is what he would say first. Then the second stage, next, he paints a pitiful picture of the aggressor as poor, deprived, and downtrodden minority whom the Hindus refuse to recognize as equal citizens. That is what he does next. He makes the aggressor look like the victim. Then, have you noticed this? There is a bomb blast. People have been arrested. Then what happens? Down the line, you will have a cover story in a leading mainstream magazine that would highlight the plight of the families of the accused in the bomb blast, not the victims of the bomb blast. You could have seen that several times. He could have gunned down a few Hindus with the AK-47, but he was son of a school teacher. That is the mentality. At a later stage, he assumes sanctimonious yes and assigns to the Hindus an inescapable moral responsibility to rescue their less privileged brethren from the plight into which the Hindus have pressed them. So now the onus is on the Hindus. Provide them more job opportunities. From the taxpayers' money, create a lot of infrastructure. Then hand over the entire schools to Jamaati Islam. So that is the next stage. In the next round, he harangues the Hindus that any danger to them, if really real and worth worrying about, arises not from an external aggression against them, but from the injustice and oppression in their own social system. Now, again, I would say, visualize a Rajdeep Sardesai, visualize a Bargadat, visualize a Devdutt Patnaik. Imagine you have a conversation with him, or most probably you would have had a Twitter conversation with these people if they had responded to you from their ivory towers. Then you would have seen exactly this is the course in which these arguments run. If the Hindus are not convinced by all these arguments and become bent upon organizing some sort of a self-defense, he comes out with a foolproof formula for that eventuality as well. The Hindus are advised to put their own house in order. Why don't you look after a lot of temples that are already in very bad shape? Why you want to build a temple here in Ayodhya? See, that is a very physically manifest version of this argument. The argument would be different, many things. Why you are worried about conversions? First, let us put our own house in order. Why you are worrying about people building a church here and there and creating all these conversions? Let us take care of our own people and our own system, put that into order, those kind of arguments. If the Hindus still remain adamant, he tries his last and the best ballistics upon them. He suddenly puts on a spiritual mask and lovingly appeals to the Hindus in the name of their long tradition of religious tolerance. How can the followers of Gautama and Gandhi descend to the same level as Islam, which has never known religious tolerance? This book was written in 1981. I don't know how he was able to predict Shashi Tharoor. 1981, he could predict what Shashi Tharoor would write about Hinduism and Hindu spirituality. All that he writes only because he wants to denounce Hindutva. He wants to denounce the fact that Hindus are at last got the guts to put a government that is openly Hindu in place. So now see the words and just think of Shashi Tharoor. If the Hindus still remain adamant, he tries his last and best ballistics upon them. He suddenly puts on a spiritual mask and lovingly appeals to the Hindus in the name of their long tradition of religious tolerance. How can the followers of Gautama and Gandhi descend to the same level as Islam, which has never known religious tolerance? Now, this is what I call an algorithm. The same way, he has also written about how the communists behave when you argue with them, what are exactly the arguments that communists would put forth. This book, very small book, but filled with data. It is like a neutron star, completely packed with massive amount of data in a very small space. Not just data, the algorithms of how the anti-Hindu mind works. What are all the perverted ways in which it would twist facts and it would desensitize you. In fact, the entire spirituality that the last point talks about become nothing but kind of a anesthetic that is being supplied to you so that you would sleep when they are cutting your throat, slitting your throat. So this is how the Hindu mind, particularly the educated Hindu mind, gets hypnotized. And the most important thing is, like in Matrix, remember what happens when a person becomes a traitor in Matrix? The person knows deep in him that the Matrix was just supplying him illusional pleasures, illusional feeling of power. Nevertheless, he enjoys it for the sake of that illusional feel of power, for the illusional pleasures. The same thing happens to the Maccaulite Hindus. Sitaram Goel again explains this in a very wonderful way. He states that these people, by taking this kind of stand, they can get into high positions of power in polity, in media, in academia, in bureaucracy. And having seen that, despite the fact they know deep in their heart that they are wrong, they would still go on telling this again and again, that Hindus are not in danger, that the Hindus have to put their house in order first, that the Hindu spirituality allows them not to take any defense. The only thing that is left for Hindu is to be slaughtered, peacefully get slaughtered. That is the best way of being a Hindu. All those kind of things they would say again and again. And as I said, these have real-time consequences.